Good afternoon, colleagues. I hope we had great lunch and ready for our third session for today, which is a presentation from architecture, and it's titled Making the Past Productive, Revitalizing Industrial Parks in the Eastern Cape. And it will be presented by Ridumeti Malefane, who's from our architecture department, alongside second-year architecture students. If you can give them a round of applause as they stand. So they will make their presentation, and then from there we'll have a discussion after their presentation. So over to you, Ridumeti.
Testing, 1, 2, testing, 1, 2. Good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you for having us this afternoon. I am excited about this project that we're about to share with you. And what makes it even more exciting is just the journey I had with the students. And I'd like to really just first name the students. Next to on my left, we have Kamfa. Next on his far left, we have Reeves. And the farthest left, we have Rushin. Ooh, okay. Where's the, okay, where's the, okay, no? So I apologize, it's my first time using this. So the title of the project was Making the Past Productive. And, you know, in architecture, we try to really, at least coming from a SACAP level, which is the regulatory body that actually governs educational practice, there's been a strong position to really try find inclusive projects in which students themselves are really engaged in the social, social spaces that are often overlooked, but the places that we actually position projects, which are actually predominantly in urban centers. So this also speaks to that actual discourse. So just taking you through an outline of the actual project, I'll be setting the tone, just giving introduction, and the big heavyweights here will actually be going through the project itself, and I'll just be tying it together, drawing our conclusion. So, for me personally, I think it, and I really do appreciate these discussions, these places. I would say I'm nervous, but not really anymore, because I'm actually familiar with quite a few faces here. And I think this is just a place just to share and engage around what's the discussion of topic. And for me personally, yes, I did the Africanization, decolonization in Daba. And I thought, no, this is actually a lane in which I should position myself within this space of Nelson Mandela University. And coming into the transformation in Daba as well, I was a bit, shy guy, seeing directors, DVCs, but still it does formulate a good inflection point in how it starts to shape how you approach your projects. And so for me, really, the transformation Daba is a pivotal moment, I would say, for me, in how it really did begin to deepen my commitment to really realign, reshape architecture education towards more socially relevant, responsive to South African needs. So really, outlining what was shared by Professor Andrew Keat there, a message that really truly resonated with me during the Daba was the call to review the curriculum to ensure social relevance and responsiveness to the development needs of the country. And this was actually a really defining moment. And of course, leaving the actual Indaba, it does set up research questions in how you start to actually formulate and approach your actual modules that you set up. So a very pivotal moment. And I think really there's a particular, if I can say, a theme that carries through the transformation in Durban that really does lay a good foundation for this approach around critical sustainability literacy. And really, by really embracing critical sustainability literacy, we are equipping, I like to believe, students to be a bit more socially acute to the cultural contexts of the Eastern Cape. And it's something, if I can just share this very quickly, something that was actually said by a friend of mine back in 2015. And we normally were designing projects in Summerstrand, Humewood, and it's a question that still sits with me. We went to the site. It was actually an old age home in Summerstrand behind Pick and Pay. And he asked me, Tumza, who are we designing for exactly here? And it really, I felt that till today. And I think there is really a strong realignment that's really happening within architectural education that's really shaping up and aligning well to the position what our institution's actually driving. So really this concept of critical sustainability literacy really calls us to examine this power dynamic at play of exactly who are we making spaces for. The marginalized themselves are actually being overlooked. And of course, in that space, we're not really driving an attitude towards how can we accommodate architecture for that type of space through the lens of social justice and equity. Oops, I'm still here. Sorry. So I was supposed to be on this page. Sorry, I'm so sorry. So with that lens, I really actually looked to the Eastern Cape. Well, this map really does highlight where the focus of our project should be. Not just in this in Port Elizabeth, but how can we reposition Nelson Mandela University to the broader context of the Eastern Cape, where it's really a driver for regional development. And that's something that I took away from that transformation in Durban, in which it started to underpin and shape this project for the second semester. And as a background of making the past productive, it just goes to, professional practice, working with ECDC, the Eastern Cape Development Corporation. And I was, it wasn't actually part of the project I was working on, but I came familiar with this project titled Revitalizing of Industrial Hubs. So this was actually back in 2018, 2019, and it has been shelved for 5-6 years. And it was actually a very strategic initiative, I must add, in which they are actually looking at the strategic regions in Guam, Dimbaza, in how it can really revitalize the industrial hubs to its former glory. And really driving through the Eastern Cape to different jobs, really through the lens of, at a time as a candidate architect to my boss, director, I get to kind of see a picture in how he used to paint exactly how productive the landscape was, how many factories, manufacturing hubs that used to really, give hope to our people. So really, this mandate itself that did seek to drive development, economic development, and I thought really this was a good place for us to start. But of course, with our own twist in which we can actually look at the program to broaden the social impact for the actual communities. So we had in Dimbaza, these are all dilapidated sites that are actually all to ruin, as it is, neglected. And of course, we have this migration, happening from the Transcar to the Eastern to East London, from East London to PE to Cape Town. You know, there's this migration, and I think really by I'm still here. By really positioning and formulating good projects around these places, we can really transform the lives of the people. So this is just actually a few visuals of just the areas that we actually focus on. So this, for the actual project itself, I won't actually go into depth into it because I'll just focus on the studio work project itself, in which in groups of 4, they were actually tasked to, in architecture, we just give them a brief as if it was in a real life application. Your client is ECDC, and you are to actually propose and develop an adaptive reuse warehouse factory proposal for this industrial biomass program. But of course, within architecture itself, we have to set out clear parameters in which students should be engaged with. So for me personally, this design had to really integrate sustainable and innovative design solutions that really does enhance the economic viability around these areas. And for me, to really reinforce this for me, I like to really make it a pivotal aspect of the rubrics. So the rubrics kind of does shape the outcome, really, of any particular project. So by really making specific criterions to be solely focused around water saving and recycling, social impact, and community engagement, energy efficiency, this starts to become attitudes that students start to bring very close into how they actually engage in the project itself. So this was the setting of the actual project, and I actually will now let the players take us through exactly each project, starting with you, Kampa.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to appreciate this moment of being here to speak about this project. It's kind of really personal to me in terms of revitalizing the industrial hubs. In terms of the economic situation that we are experiencing, in the past years, we've seen our parks, which have been productive and have been producing products for us, and they have reached a state of dilapidation, which then caused a lot of unemployment for our people, which then goes further to other issues as well. So my project is situated in Fort Jackson, which is approximately 1.5 kilometers away from my home. My brother used to work there up until the factories got dilapidated, and first of all he got retrenched. Times were tough, and then life goes on, we move, and then we even forget about the factories that they even exist. So yeah, this project was that close to me, and I could actually see my site from my home quite from afar. So while I was designing shaping this project, I would just have the picture of how it would impact the environment that I grew up in, and how it would restore the dignity of our people. And yeah, you can stop further. So, first of all, when designing a project, which ties back to what my lecturer was saying, it goes back to what's the purpose, who are you designing for, what do you want to achieve with the project. It's not ideal to rush about designing the structure and have a beautiful structure, all glamoury and looking like Dubai and so, yeah. So yeah, we first look at the proximity of the site to our people. How do they access the site, or how they used to be, if they used to use the land. So my site is situated probably 275 meters away from the residential buildings. So we do those types of observations and see the privacy of the parks from the people. So yeah, how do you press further? So yeah, then we get to the main thing of what do I want my project to achieve? What do I want to achieve? So I came up with this idea of recycling. Recycling, particularly because I came up with the aim of cleaning up the streets of Tanzania, making sure that the project has a positive impact to the people. Besides the employment factor, it does kind of shape the society. So I decided that my project is basically gonna recycle plastics. People are gonna be able to bring plastics. We're gonna recycle them and convert them into something productive. But I didn't came up to that conclusion yet, but we decided to, since the municipality already has a project of picking bins, maybe Mondays, on some areas it's Tuesdays, on some areas it's Wednesdays in the morning. So to add into that, to clean the society and have that positive impact as well, and also design a space where people are proud to go to. And yeah, that was the aim of my project, in terms of how does it engage with the people, and how does it help people, and how does it affect the daily lives of the people. Because at the end of the day, architecture is about people. It's about how do you shape the daily lives of people, how do you structure their, how do you assist in terms of making their lives easier, in terms of accessibility. So yeah, that was the purpose of the project. So I then went further in terms of concept development. In this case, we already have factories. It's just that now they're no longer working. The structures are not, they're not in good shape. So what do we do now? We do not rush into designing something new. We use what is there, try to convert it and make it better in a way that we try to make sure that the same thing doesn't happen over again, maybe in a couple of 10 years or 15 years. Yes, it might happen maybe because of the political issues, but in terms of structure and in terms of design, we try to make sure that we prevent those type of things. I mean, it's pointless to design something that is gonna go through the same situation again in 20 years or in 15 years. So my factory had a single clear story. You know that glass, there's a glass that we call it a clear story that is at the roof. It allows the sun to pass through to prevent, so that the building can have heat without having to pay using money in terms of mechanical systems to try and heat up the building, investing in air conditioning, we try to cut that budget. So what I used then was to try and make sure that I use that more. Instead of having a single clear story, on my building I decided to have multiple clear stories so that my building can have access to sun during the morning and during the evening, and to cut that budget. And it's one thing to build, to give out the budget for designing a building, and it's one thing to have a budget for maintaining the building. So I also try to make sure that we cut the budget in terms of maintenance. You know, buying a car is easy, but maintaining it, that's where the thing is. So cutting those issues down and making sure that the building lives longer and it's self-sustainable. It doesn't it doesn't suffocate your pockets that much if you are an investor or you're the owner of the building. So also the circulation in terms of, we try to redesign the access to the site, redesign the access, make it easy for people to access the site, and also workability in terms of trucks, how do they operate around the site, delivering plastics, and making sure that the site has free flow. We don't want to design something and then there's an accident in 5 years, all because of that one architect that is no longer there. So, we try to prevent those issues, making people's lives more easier and more functionable, if there's such a word. So these are the floor plans. The floor plans are laid out in a way that they prioritizes not only the employers, but also the people of the community as well, in terms of access to things like ablutions, in terms of having spaces that can accommodate people if they wanna sit and have a coffee, and also having places whereby you can just drop by 2 or 3 black bags of plastics and get a certain amount of money. You know, also plowing back to the people. So these are the layout plans. Also trying to make sure that they comply with the municipality, That's the main issue, because you have to design based on reality and try to make sure that this thing is practically possible. If they would say that they're building it tomorrow and it will pass by the municipality. So, yeah. So, yeah. These are the 3D images of my factory. You know, trying to make sure as well as, you know, architecture is also about changing mindsets. You know, people from townships, a majority of the people from the township, the thing of working on factories, they're looking at it like, factory, it's hard labor, yo, I don't wanna, I'm gonna look for a better job that has an office, you know, lay back with the chair. So we're trying to fix that mindset, make a factory more cooler, so that you're proud to say, I work there, and you're proud to say, I'm going there. You know, you wanna be seen there. You know, making the structure more attractive and aesthetically pleasing as much as possible. So it's all about changing the mindsets and improving everything as far as functionality is concerned. So, yeah. So these images are showing the interiors and also the design of the site in terms of flow. Nothing much, and yeah. So also I try to also make research in terms of municipal laws. If you want to run a recycling company, you have to check whereas to everything that you do complies with the laws in terms of your business. Let's say you have a business plan. How does it? Because I believe the municipality is there for the people, and is there to make sure that the people, they don't. This thing doesn't end up being a disaster. Now there's a smell of plastics, there's plastics flying around. So you have to follow certain rules, follow certain rules to go about it. So these are the municipal laws that I came across, and try to make sure that everything is done safely. And yeah. Oh, thank you. I'll pass the mic.
Hello, good afternoon everybody. Today I'll be speaking about the factory that my group and I came up with and designed. So basically, it's in Fort Jackson, located within the same area as my classmate over here. And we had troubles coming up with designs and with occupancy within these factories. So we came up with the idea of wood to timber processing, and with that came many problems as to these machines need specific rooms and safety regulations. And with that, we had a cultural center to implement with this factory, and along with that, we came up with the idea that is a design concept. A design concept that allows the community to be within the factory but not at the factory itself, meaning they can be part of the factory to view it and see what's going on within the factory on a level where it's not as dangerous and less movement of heavy machinery is. So basically we have the industrial park over here, and just certain aspects regarding the site itself. Along with that, we came up with these concept ideas and to find ways how people would access the site. And there is quite a few main roads, railways, that is hugging the building and the site. So right there we have a 3D exploded and exotic view of our building, which is just to explain certain parts of the building and which part is allocated to its designated occupancy. So on the, I don't know if you can see, but on the side where the part is being pulled up the furthest is our cultural center with the design of implementing the community and allowing them to come with their children and allow them to interact with certain projects within our factory. And by that I mean we have sculptural activities and where people will learn about the processing of our factory. So on the right hand side you will see there is machinery that's been posted there. From wood to timber, it's quite a process. So we came up with the idea that the offcuts can be used for the community, whether it be for firewood or for them to create their own furniture. And the shards that's been made from the cuts will be used for vegetation or your soil composing. Okay. This is just a section across the entire factory. Along with this, we came up with some technical difficulties which we had to resolve by means of different types of materials had to be implemented along with how these things tie to each other. So another idea we came up with is in this day and age we have static power energy incomes, meaning solar, wind and water. Those are the ones people refer to the most. And within our factory, I came up with the idea of implementing a component that allows us to generate electricity by the means of Faraday's law, which allows the process of creating electricity by using magnets and copper wire. And with that, we have a waterfall which is placed from our roof, and our roof is entirely glass. But with that, we had to also, as my classmate said, meet the requirements of SANS 10400. With that, the water system was quite the one to tackle for pumping up water to that certain amount of height and allowing it to generate power and the fall that it comes down with. Also, the component that we designed is, as you can see over there, it's just to explain how things work. And the propeller, if I may call it, has magnets within itself that is placed across one another, meaning positive and negative. And along that we have a coil pack that's inserted into a whole component that's aluminum, which is the choice we went for, reason being magnets cannot stick to aluminum and electricity doesn't really flow through that. Along with that, we came up with the idea that our hole in the roof, which is our waterfall, is curved and we can't have straight pipes, so we had a curved pipe. And another thing is you cannot turn a flat surface on a curved pipe. So we dug into some more research and there's actually a way we came up. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with a train wheel. It's chamfered inwards. And we came up with the idea that the plastic propeller on the inside has chamfered angles to allow one access point which would create less friction across the entire the pipe that is bent. And through that, these things get turned by our waterfall, which is a consistent up and down flow. And with that, electricity is being generated. And with all the copper wire on the inside, the faster the propeller turns, the more electricity is generated, and which that electricity would be then diverted into a battery. It can be a deep cycle battery as well. And from there, it can be dispersed, whether it is into appliances or any other machinery within the factory. And that's basically what the 3D looks over there. And from our factory, we have an office, and the office is a part of the building that is tied into the face of the factory and the cultural center, which allows you to view the factory and our cultural center, which is placed in the center. As you can see, there's a waterfall there, and that's how the view is. And with that, the sense of the water falling creates a sensation throughout the building. Thank you very much.
Hi, Marushan, thank you for having me. Basically, I chose a different site from the rest of them. I chose Dimbaza. So, a little story about the site I chose was like actually, me and my group members, we had a last discussion, and then it actually resulted in one of my group members actually being kicked out of the group. Which is, so the discussion which I actually want to make before I actually go into my program, it was more like, basically I'm actually nervous, I do apologize. So the site I actually chose was on the edge of the industrial settlement and the informal settlement, which is where the people live. So my main idea was choosing a site where actually it can connect both the industrial park and the informal settlement, basically creating this where what's the name? The industrial park and where people live become as one, instead of we living like separately. So the idea was for us to connect people to the industrial park, inviting people over, and kind of like, and instead of having like, you go to a place, you will actually see like, damn, that is where the factories are. So what our idea was like, inviting people into that whole edge of the industrial park, which actually is a very communal space because there's a cemetery, it has 2 churches nearby, it has the, what's the name, I think the court is also nearby, and the social development. So the edge of the industrial park was a very unique choice, and my other group member, which was eventually kicked out, he was fighting against saying we need to go fully industrial, and then it was a whole commotion. Yeah, so it wasn't very nice. So yeah, and then actually looking at this, this is a part where basically we also try to, in a sense, not maybe as great as other groups. We were more looking at a sense of uplifting the community, which is where most of our brains went to, and design-wise, it actually really didn't hit. But it also, something I told my lecturer, we had a conversation about architecture it's not just the building, it is the experience of the person within the building and what the building actually represents. So when it comes to design-wise, I think we are more lackluster, this project, but in sense of the program, we went for, how can I say, I'm gonna go with that, and yeah. So, doing a research on the project, basically, I kind of we went deep into the history of Dimbaza and what it really is and how it came about. And also the past factories that was there, and then also how is Dimbaza acting right now. In Dimbaza, sadly, a lot of pupils actually leave education to actually go work, and then that was another thing that actually played part. We had to design something where it was for, like I said, for the community. So we couldn't design a factory where education is really needed, but we wanted to design something where the people that actually that has left education to actually go fetch to actually, how can I say, terms in our junior generation, to actually go get the bread, which actually make money, because a lot of people actually 16, 17, they leave home, leave school to actually go work and go make money. So, and not only that, we also did research as to the genders within the community of Dimbaza itself. So our design had to be fluid for both male and female. So we chose actually food processing plant. So the reason also food processing plant is also not only is it gender fluid where male and female can actually work within the food processing but meat processing plant, it was also a sense of the farmers that actually lives around the site can actually, what design was based on strictly livestock coming directly from it, so from the farmers that lives around the site. So basically we actually, we taking what's in, we uplifting the community, not only in the sense of like employment, but also we what's in buying from the community as well, so that employs more employ what's in people itself. So that was the main idea for this whole food processing plant. And then, yeah. So this is actually the floor plan for the food processing, meat processing plant. Actually, it's very, very long. I think it's like 150 meters long. So actually, this is actually like my previous classmates section municipal submission, but what I try to do actually for this presentation, actually add more presentable things, so the pupils here can actually understand more what I was trying to show. So the meat comes actually from another building where it actually gets slaughtered, and it's being brought right into our program. So what we also did, we kind of actually kept mechanical structures at bare minimum. So what usually happens in food processing plants is usually an overhead cantilever where where meat is clipped on, and then then the dead animal goes through the process basically alone. So what we wanted to do was actually employ more people, because a lot of people in the community actually was not, meaning the employment is very low. So what we decided to do and kind of make that whole sense of mechanical, we brought it low, and we kind of employed more manpower, which actually employs more people in a sense. So we went for more like a normal, got some conveyor belt. So actually the meat is placed on the conveyor belt and goes through the process, but actually needs manpower to actually go into the process where it actually needs to go into, instead of clipping it on the meat that's the overhead cantilever, and then actually goes through the process, which actually takes a lot of jobs away from certain people. So like I said, we designed in a way where we actually want to give to the community. So that was that whole experience. And also another thing we actually went by, instead of, something actually happens within the meat processing plant. So usually they have the smoking rooms, which is also mechanical basically. So meat gets placed within this whole container. So then, not container actually, it gets placed in this whole meat room. And actually goes through the process like in 5 minutes, 5 hours or so forth, but then like this basically there. So it's kind of a thing, basically, so then what we actually did, we took we actually took containers, actual containers, and what we did was we did research as to what other countries did, less developed countries, what they do when they actually do smoking their meat. So what they actually do, they have this room where charcoal is thrown at the bottom, is thrown on the floor, and then the meat is hanged up within. So what we tried to do was we brought that whole sense into our factory, brought the container in, fire rated around, and then we placed charcoal at the bottom, and then a flooring, and then hang it on. So then the meat actually hangs and then smokes for a couple of days, and then also actually brings more flavor into the meat actually. So that was one of our ideas. This is also a section through the whole site, the factory itself. So it's more technical. We actually raised our floor to actually bring in more for services. So ducts inside underneath the floor, instead of having, as you can see there, you would not have that in our factory because people can trip and fall. So what we did was we raised the floor. all your wires actually runs underneath the flooring. So that, in a sense, is more safer. So something I actually, that we also did was going at the end of my speech. We actually, our site plays a part is, like I said, it's a kind of giving back to the community. So what we did was we decided to have a whole lecture site, but based on how what's kind of actually what's teaching the community about the industrial park itself. So in a sense of like our site actually plays a part of like kind of wanting to revitalize the industrial park that actually is there and it's actually dying off. So what we actually want, what our site, our design part was, this is the start of something, and if there is future investments coming, the people that live in the community actually knows already what is going to happen within the industrial park, because they actually they have learned it in our site itself. So, and then actually there's also a section, some renders as to how the industrial, the whole factory actually looks within, showing that it all is mechanical, what's in manual power, and then also the bottom is actually a render of the site showing the separation between the factory and the what's in the cultural part, which is where actually we employing the learning. So yeah, that is, I believe that's it from me. It was brief.
Yeah, just to land this plane, I'm just so tremendously proud of my students. This is the biggest joy as a lecturer, is when students really just carry through an idea to its fullest potential. And really, I think, and this is where I want to draw the final close of this. I just see massive potential in the Eastern Cape. I see massive potential with my students. As we have it right now, we have this massive problem within our industry where students, for some reason, can't seem to find employment in this province. And that in itself, as what is demonstrated here, these students are the very people that will fix our problems. And it's probably just a call out to Dr. Bruce that we need to connect here, Dr. Bruce. And I think just looking at the broader national strategies in how this project's aligned to. There was something that I had on the screen where Public Works just released a memorandum, I think last month, around 1 billion rand around strategic projects which this allows to. If you look at the Office of the Presidency himself, there's also, it's all this level of innovation quite critical towards sustainability, and how that's also plugs into there's a program in the Office of Presidency. So I think these ideas should really be pooled with stakeholders. I really actually would like to take this to ECDC to really give it a spark. Because there's something here in which I really believe in, and I believe that these students themselves are the very people that can actually drive this to really transform the landscapes that we find ourselves in. So I'm just massively grateful for just having such students that actually can run with you, work with you, share the same vision with you, and actually have the same passion with you to actually critically transform the lives. And I think by all means, we all have learned something, even in this process as well. And I'm just so happy. And yeah, that's it from my side.
Thanks, colleagues, for those presentations. Can you please give them a round of applause? So we're going to move to our discussion now. So we're going to have the first round. And also, colleagues who are joining us online, they can always put their question or comment, and then it will be read out. So we can go for the first round of questions. So Clifford, Dr. Bruce, Pastor.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Brilliant, brilliant presentation. For a discipline like architecture that is incredibly colonial, it is good to see some brilliant decolonial and African work being done. So I just want to commend you. I saw a lot of hard work that was put in. And I think for me, I think it's more of a comment, and I'll try to keep it brief. But I like the fact that there's a rootedness for each person with the projects, in terms of you can tell a story that links to the site. And then you looked at real-world issues in your communities, and then you took your disciplinary knowledge and used that. And I believe that is something those of us from other disciplines can actually learn from. And I believe that speaks to what we have in here, critical sustainable literacies. So then my question, I guess, so there's a question in there, is how can we learn from you in terms of transferring the literacy to a different discipline? And what I mean by that is the process by which within your discipline you've been able to tackle these real-world situations and marry theory with practice, with lived experience. Can you teach us? How would you be able to teach that to someone in sociology, someone in engineering, someone in chemistry? Thank you.
Dr. Bruce?
I think I can answer your question. Go to the lecturer, and then you'll find he'll be the teacher. I want to start by commending you, sir, to me, for your passion. There's two profound statements that you made. You said you believe in the future and you believe in your students. And that's a mark of an exceptional pedagogue. So I want to salute you as, what do they call Oyama? Not to 16, you're a young academic. It's probably struggling to get support in a space that's advocating. So I definitely reach out. So I have a question and then an offer. Since you said we need to work together, so let's keep ourselves publicly accountable so that we move forward in that particular way. So just a quick, if you can respond immediately, this is just the concept that people still have, it hasn't been implemented. I'm very slow with figures and numbers. So this is a design, but no movement on what students think are the potential. Is that correct?
Yes, so as it is, yes.
Perfect. Good. No, perfect, because you're not busy. That's the big thing. So you know, what I disagree with in, I think was the first student, was that I don't think we must revitalize factories for people to want to work in. We must revitalize factories for people to own. It's the change of the economy, and it's the conversations we then have with our communities. Many factory workers were exploited for the labor. So that building could also be a site of pain beyond the site. I think of your brother. You see your narrative, the testimony, the beautiful articulation, sir, of seeing your vision from your window, but also linking it directly to a personal family experience. And you see, that's what we learn drives people. So there are three things that I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. All three, you great architects. You heard in some of them, but you guys weren't here. In Hellenvale, we have a woman a community member that wants to create a classroom of hope from a dilapidated building. All that she knows is she wants a nice place for kids to feel hopeful in a tough situation. Is it a project you can consider to partner with her, to understand what she wants, advise her, transfer your literacies to her, and then come up together with a plan. That's the one. So it's a classroom of hope. The second one is an office of hope. Those two gentlemen sitting there, when we negotiate, they negotiate with the gangs behind them, so they give us a lot of strain when we want to develop projects. So they convinced us that they want to start goat farming in Zwidi as part of a leadership support. They are in the process of redesigning a classroom. So all these are schools in tough areas, and the school has given them a classroom now to redesign an office that will serve the needs that you are seeing in your community. Can you sit with them and help them design and bring some of these technologies to life in that one? The third one is the home of hope. And Jiva, I think this is a potential for CUT collaboration. There are two homes, one in Heidedal in the Free State and one in New Brighton, where we have two community members that have exactly the same experience with substance abuse. Their homes have burned down, there's just a shell. As part of this project, they want to rebuild this as centers of hope in their communities. Is it something that you guys, I'm speaking to you and through your lecturer because that's the connecting point, and then that gives us a collaboration with CUT, to then do a joint development project. And then the big one is then to invite one of you to the farm next week. So we are going to Hope Revolution Farm, a transdisciplinary team of the university, minus the architects. But if you say yes, now one architect is with us on that trip, where we are going to put together, to me you spoke of Prof. Keith's objectives of the university, so we're really trying to show this beyond the words. So we have AMTC, and I saw they've got technology there that I think if we merge with this, Cliff will be fantastic with your knowledge. Are you willing to send one person with us to the farm? Because we just need to ask Jenny to sign off on that, and then we can get you onto the plane with us next week, so that you can then also bring your eye. Because what we're learning is that sometimes we want to be the architects and we cause chaos. We have brilliance amongst us, and if we work in a complementary way, not in a competing way, our knowledges can then, and I'm sure that will be fantastic conversation. So I'm not too sure if those are, the question is, can you participate with us and become the lead designers with us across those 4 spaces that we're working on?
It's a definite yes.
So we'll take one more question from Pester, and then we'll give them an opportunity to respond. And then we'll have another round.
Thanks, Asi. Good afternoon, everyone. Mine is not really a question, but more of a comment. I just want to commend you. It's nice to see a bunch of young people doing the right thing. And I think it's also refreshing for me, because a lot of the time, people view these types of engagement as a humanities thing. I think someone mentioned this earlier. So it's very nice to see that this type of conversation can cut through the different disciplines. I would have never thought, like, you guys have looked at these projects in such a different and unique way that it sort of opens up the mind to different types of doing this kind of work. So I just want to commend you for that. Beautiful, beautiful work, and keep it up. And lastly, I just want to say, something Prof. Keith likes to say is that someone would say, we are so tired of having meetings, we want to get down to the work. And Prof. Keith would say, having the meeting is doing something. So I just want to commend everyone here as well, that these types of engagements is not simply as putting together events. I always say this to Jenny, as someone who's fairly new in the space, every time I go to an engagement like this, I literally learn something new every time. I've been at the university for 12 years, but it's only since last year that I start engaging with this type of conversation. So also to the organizing team, it's not just about putting together events, it's about changing how people view things, changing how we talk, how we have these kinds of conversations. As like I said, you guys are also now bringing together something new into this conversation. So thank you for that, and thank you to the organizing team for putting this together.
Thanks, Pastor. So we are going to give the panel an opportunity to respond. So it's up to you if it's Ridumeti or any of the students. Yeah.
Okay. Firstly, to go back to the question of applying the same principles to a different stream or a different discipline. Personally, I think that one of the most important keys to freedom and one of the most important keys to success is information. You know, every time I get frustrated or every time I get stressed about something, I have to calm myself down to a point of realizing that no, I have to do an observation of why am I stressed? It's because, oh, I'm lacking information to a certain thing, whether it's an emotional information, whether it's an career-driven information, or it's business-driven. Information, I think, is important. It's one of the most important keys, whether you are an engineer or a pilot or a psychologist or whatever field you are in. So I think that sitting down and observing and really tap into trying to get as much information that you can, whatever stream, that discipline that you are pursuing. I do not have all the information. I for sure know that. That's why I would say I'm in the position that I'm in. I'm in a second year student. I mean, yeah, but information is important, and whenever you are trying to find a solution, or whenever you're trying to find a solution, whether it's a social issue or financial issue or business-driven issue, it all ties down to information and observing. I think that's my personal answer to that question. I mean, research and information. I mean, and yeah, discipline and all these moral issues. So I think that's my my answer to that. Yeah, and I think I'll leave to my.
So my answer to that question, like how basically, kind of to give this back to not only we have another lecturer as well, which is Hansi, and Sir himself also, to kind of how to bring that into other practices. I think it would be to imagine yourself in a position as a person that's going to experience that as well. So not only seeing you just, like as an engineer, you just build given the doing a building thing, you must also think about how is the person going to use this thing, experience it as well. That is how we also design our buildings. How is the person going to be within this building, experience this building. So it's not just from a sense of like, cool, I'm doing this to get it done. It's also from a sense like, okay, what can I do for this person who's going to experience it, to enjoy it and also understand what it was made for. So that is my answer, very brief. But
Okay, sorry. I would just like to answer yours first and then I'll get back to you. So basically to relate to another person, it's a sense of you can only take the person there, but it's their choice to learn it. And from that, most people learn in different ways and various options by means of visual or literally listening or reading. And when it comes to relating it to another person, you don't want them to read an entire paragraph or an essay, and presenting it as my group and my fellow students did over here, is to present it visually and quick and not let them ponder on something to what if or what is, and give them a quick direct answer to how things work and how things is done accordingly. Thank you. According with the schools, if I may, I think it can be done. Reason being, if you do a proper impact study, and with that, you need to first of all find out what materials can be restored, what materials have been dilapidated to a sense that it's become endangered for the kids. And with that, you have to design, as he said over here, for the kids and not just for whomever's there, because they want to experience the structure within the building and outside, which would want them to come to the building. Thank you very much.
And then we're going to have another round, which is the last one. So we'll take Prof. Viona, and then Matilda, and then Bongani. Oh, and
yes, you saw me got out of my chair. I was so excited to give you a standing ovation. I lecture in the social work department, and I've now gone through from selecting you as a husband for my daughters to so they have a big to trying. I was with Cliff there with that question, like, how do you get students to think like that at second year level? Like, did you do a social consciousness module somewhere, or did you baptize them before you started the course? What happened? So my invitation, so I'm with that Classroom of Hope, right? So I'm very excited to be working with you. And my invitation is really for you to work with our Social Work Student Society, because I want to tap into how you got to where you are with that type of thinking. And for my colleague, I just want to appreciate you. We had a conversation during lunchtime, and you showed such a vulnerability. You know, when you said, I'm nervous, etc., and you're sitting alongside your students. So I just want to appreciate you for being so fully human, which is allowing them to be fully human. And I can see how they think the way they do. And then for Rushan, I saw that pain when you spoke about the student that is not on the project and how difficult that was, etc. And yeah, I just want to also applaud you for being so courageous, because something that's truly worthwhile will request and require of you to do something very difficult. Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, so calm down, Cliff. Earlier, I had to attend a meeting at the municipality, which was a stakeholder forum meeting. One of the stakeholders, Cliff, now you make me stand. One of the stakeholders was the Disability Forum. And it was actually quite sad to hear how much year after year it's a frustration for them in respect of when events are organized, when anything is sorted out, that once again, they haven't been taken into consideration, even where it's an event for them. a stage is erected that they don't have access to. So my question would be, and even with new buildings, the consideration still isn't there. So my question would be, how would you go about ensuring that whatever you design would be accessible for whatever challenge? I'm not just talking about mobility challenges, but also blindness, deafness, whatever. Okay, thanks.
Thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. I mean, there's a lot to take from the presentations, and I think the thing that stood out for me the most, I have to stand. Do I have to stand? Okay. What I take out of the presentations was a couple of things that you mentioned. So first and foremost was the utility of buildings and what they represent and what they mean for people. And you also mentioned sort of not refurbishing, but a lot of recycling and using materials that are available and all too often disposable, plastics and such things. So what I'm saying is that there's a lot that you said and there's a lot of opportunity. Now, obviously, the resources are very limited, and I'm going to extend on something that Bruce had mentioned. Last year it was, Bruce took me to a school in the northern areas. And also a place where children stay. It's a boarding school, for lack of a better term. The shells are there, the building is there, but it's in a horrible state of dilapidation. And instead of having built the place as if it's a school that's meant for accommodating young kids, it's similar to, I've seen prison cells that look better. So what I'm saying is that I think that, you know, and going back to some of the points that was raised, is that yes, all too often when you have conferences like this, it's not the first time that I've been to Nelson Mandela University and had a discussion of this nature. I've been to other universities, we've had these types of discussions, especially on civil society platforms and community-based platforms. And it's great to see this interdisciplinary collaboration. And I think then that humanizes different faculties in being able to actually contribute to the needs and the wants of people. And similarly also then I extend that challenge to say that let's look at a school like that, for example, where we already have structures in place. And to a large extent, it takes common sense, for lack of a better term, to fix what is the situation. So that maybe we can go back to the relevant government departments and say that instead of putting out a tender for XYZ, Nelson Mandela University has done half the work for you. All that we need to do is now finish it and to completion. And the other thing for me that was amazing about that experience, whether it was with the Zwede Development Forum or with those young learners there, is that they have inputs and ideas of what it is that they would like to see. Something as simple as this is the room that I have to sleep in for the year. Perhaps maybe share with a roommate. But the understanding is it's very straightforward. I'd like it painted a different color instead of sort of an oppressive cell block C color. I'd like to have a decent bed to sleep on. And maybe it would be nice to not swim out of my room every morning because the geyser is leaking, you know? So maybe we can start talking about these things and start seeing how do we then tackle those types of challenges using academic institutions and more importantly, a university like this that says it reaches out to the community and actually do that.
Greetings to the House, all protocols observed. My name is Bongani Momoti, and I find myself in a very, very lucky position to be part of the engagements office. But Doc, I'm standing here because I'm very emotional. I'm very emotional because of two things. One, I'm from Timbaza as well, in Upper Mnasha location. So I literally know the firms you are talking about. My aunt's daughter was buried 2 weeks back in one of the firms there the church was held there. It's not used for industrial use, it's used as a church now, which is good. It's very good. But there are a Moriah of firms that closed. In COVID, part and parcel of my family sustaining itself. My mother's sister was a project coordinator in a sewing project that was there. I myself was helping her sew masks for COVID as part of personnel. That's now another. So when I see and imagine those firms there, there is hope that is instilled in me. Secondly, I'm emotional, Doc, because I know that fellow. That fellow, I come from him in East London. When I was in grade 8, his sister was in grade 10. His sister took me in as a younger brother. When I was hungry at break time, I knew that his sister would buy me fat cakes. We used to call it a student beggar. So I am very proud of him to see him here. And I was asking him, but hey man, why are you here? He's like, I'm doing architect. So I'm very proud because I come from him. And also now I'm in no position to make any demands, but I want to ask. I am, through the engagements office, coordinating a food garden project on campus. I am in concluding the primary stages of the planning. But one of the things, of the challenges that I was facing, in fact, I was engaging with him, in fact, it's an extension through you to them, that the plans that I'm submitting to Amy, they have pictures themselves, but then I am suffering, I'm struggling, I'm very limited in trying to bring about life. Sorry, I'll conclude now. To bring about, for instance, I was talking to them that in this room is the possibility for you to simulate a picture of this room and the equipment that I am working on procuring through the organization office, so that a report at the end of the year can give a live visual of what it will happen, these alternatives of food gardening systems where we want to adopt hydroponic systems inside areas, understanding that there's a limitation of farming outdoors because of horticulture, etc. And also outside, in the spaces that we want to create, we are not only trying to produce food, what we are trying to produce is spaces that are multifunctional, so that also these spaces, they are adopt at the urban planning spatial norms such as aesthetics, access. You are speaking of access, ma'am, of disability, disabled persons, which we have approached them. So I want to then, through you, extend, then approved. Then I will just coordinate and then we'll speak. Thank you.
Before we give the panel an opportunity to respond, I would like to read a comment from one of our online attendees. So this is from Mora. Dumi, I think your work, and of course your students' work, is inspirational. I would like to put you in touch with colleagues in our School of Architecture, whom I'm sure would be equally inspired. I understand your interest is primarily practical and grounded, but maybe the connection can be of some use to you. Excuse me, I have to go teach a class of my own now. Thank you for the presentation, Mora. Okay.
Afternoon, colleagues. I think it was a brilliant presentation, and what stood out for me, I think, is the way in which the students are thinking critically about real social issues. We've had discussions with some colleagues around investment and, the future of investment. And, we go around looking for these investors that come in, but how are we thinking about new technologies and the impact that this has on employment? Many industries are mechanizing. If you look at the vehicle production industry, jobs have been cut exponentially within that space. But I'm appreciative of how the students are reflecting on the industries that they are designing for, but also keeping in mind the real challenges and issues and the realities that we face as South Africa. So I was very much impressed by the modern approaches that are taken, consideration of sustainability and the building practices that are needed, looking at environmental issues that we are faced with, but also being intentional about making sure that people are getting jobs and are employed. So the design is intentionally trying to bring in people into industry. So I think that was quite impressive. Thank you very much.
I think we have one last hand from Jiva. Yes.
Oh, you're also my buddy and my partner. Thank you so much, and thank you for the wonderful presentation. And thank you, Bruce, for saying we can partner with the Home of Hope, or House of Hope. And I think it was 2 weeks ago, Rev, you guys were in Bloem. And so we've got like about 3 possible suggestions to have these houses of hope as well. So I look forward to that collaboration. But what I wanted to also ask is, we have a student group, the Enactors group, you know about them. But this is a particular international student, and he's involved in recycling plastic and as a cleanup campaign and waste management. So there's a lot of education that's going into it, and they buy the plastic and they want to create filaments out of it. And let me not say too much, because they want to submit this as a project for the competition next year. And I was just wondering, about the possibility of collaboration between the universities, and also to look at research within that field as well. And then as a side note, I'll take up Fiona's offer. Maybe NMU should start its own Tinder account. I've got 2 daughters. I've got 2 daughters that are not married.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Jiva. Thank you to the presentation. Excellent. My question is, I love the design. I love that. But the element of real-world collaboration, of working with real people, like in that areas, to maybe have a questionnaire that, what is the needs? Because I think you are designing for as if, but not having real input from real community. So I'm pushing the borders to say that this can actually become part of action research, underpinning your designs, but bringing in real world. No, that's okay. Yeah, so I'm pushing the borders. Yeah, but excellent, thank you.
So you'll each get an opportunity to give your concluding remarks, but in regards to all the provocations from the floor. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. To start with the plastics, one of the things that I didn't realize when I was going through the research of plastic is that plastics is the industry is very much underrated and is a very broad industry. We are all sitting on plastic seats right now. There's quite a lot of information one needs to acquire about that. and in terms of also safety as well. And also, ma'am, part of the reason why I decided to dive into plastics was seeing the environment that I was living in. You know, kids, they are playing on the streets and they decide, okay, let's go to play, let's play in the forest. There's a dumping site, they play, there's a lot of plastics, there's a lot of danger there, and you know, and all those issues. And also, it's dirty, so the environment. So that's why I decided, okay, the plastic can, the approach of plastic can contribute towards that. You know, try to prevent those issues. Prevention is better than cure. So, you know, preventing those issues from happening early, and be practical and think practically about every aspect of your design and think on real time. You know, that was my approach, and so yeah, that's what I have to say about that. And yeah, I think I have to let my fellow classmates answer.
I would like to comment on the accessibility part, coming across the wheelchair friendly. Firstly, I would like to say we are all human, and when those people are discriminated where they cannot access, I feel they feel disowned and not as human, so they feel like they don't feel welcome in that specific space. So according to what I want to say is that first of all, there should be access for them no matter where the place is, and according to SANS, it must be. And along with that, it's also about the cost within your building. If it's a low-rise building, people would normally opt for ramps according to SANS. And with a stage, as you mentioned, people would opt for a mechanical device that would allow the people to hook on and bring them up to stage. But if a school can't, or a room like this can't access that, I would say a ramp would be suffice, but that would take up space on the stage, meaning that place that has the ramp would have to be backstage, and that would also still make them feel like, why do I have a separate entrance? Why can't I join with the rest of the people that's amongst me? Thank you.
To actually go back to the schools, actually like when the schools offer was brought up, it actually hit home kind of. I did a project last semester. Actually did a daycare in Warmer Township, and again I envisioned myself and children themselves and how they experience that space. So with what Sir said, with the place feeling like what's in a prison, it's not a very enjoyable place, and a child is at this school or daycare or a place of learning to experience, and when it comes to places like that, it should be a place where they can actually feel free and yet learn as well. So that is something that I always take in consideration when it comes to designing, again, the experience of the person. And also, back in what he said as well, my friend, when it comes to design, and whenever we ever design, we always make the priority of disabled people on highest. I actually have a cousin herself disabled, and she can't walk without the person herself. So that also hits us bottom. So whenever we design, it's a very, very important, even in our factory, even though it is mainly used people that's not disabled, we still accommodate it for people like that. So just because you're disabled does not mean you're not human. So when it comes to design, we should always accommodate those people. So that's right.
Just to lay on that as well, when we're designing, disabled people or let me say assisted persons are our priority first. They are our priority in terms of, let's say, bathrooms. We try to bring their bathrooms closer as much as possible, you know, and they are our priority in whatever that we do. Firstly, if we don't think about them, he's gonna punish us. It's definitely gonna punish, so yeah.
Okay. Ritume, did you have something to say, or? Oh, okay. So.
For the field we work in inclusive education, we would think that every school would take that into account, that every architect would do that, and the thoughts that you have had. And I am not from Nelson Mandela, but I am from PE, so I'm so proud, so super proud of your vision for the future. Sir, if these are second year students with you, wow, wow. And so I'm listening to so many options, but please let's never, and I can see in your planning as well, inclusive education, inclusive access is a critical part that we think should be in this country, but it's not. You know, so we should really drive to look at the small activities that can be done to make just going to school accessible for everybody. And I think that is one of the major, major goals in this country, that we want learning to be accessible to everybody, you know? So thank you very much, and yeah, I'm sorry for being pushy, but I'm very impressed with you. Well done, sir.
Can we please give them another round of applause? So we've come to an end of this session. So we're gonna have tea break. I know we've went a little bit over. We're supposed to take it at 3, but we'll have the tea break until 4 for the last session for today.